Giovanni Paisiello was a composer of the classical era. He was born on May 9, 1741, in Toronto, Italy. His father originally wanted him to go into the legal profession, and so he was put into a Jesuit college. However, his extraordinary voice got attention from so many people that his parents reconsidered their choice of school and sent him to the Conservatory of San Onofrio at Naples. In this school, he studied under Francisco Durant and eventually became an assistant master. One of his early works attracted so much notice that he was invited to write 2 operas for Bologna, La Pupilla and Il Hondo allo Scalesio, and another opera, Il Marchese di Tiziano, for Rome. Now that he had a solid reputation as a composer, he settled in Naples for a time, and he wrote many more successful operas. However, Naples was home to many more established opera writers who tended to be more successful than Paisiello, and he was very jealous of this. Then, in 1772, at age 31, Paisiello began to write music for church instead of operas. He also married Silesia Pagliini, and they remained a happy couple until her death in 1815. About 6 years later, Paisiello began to write music for church. Paisiello was hired by Catherine the Great of Russia to write music for her courts. Paisiello therefore moved to St. Petersburg, where he and his wife lived for 8 years. In St. Petersburg, Paisiello wrote The Barber of Seville, based on a play by Pierre Bourgeois. This is probably not the same Barber of Seville you are familiar with. You have probably heard of The Barber of Seville by Gaudicio Rossini, which uses a different libretto, or script. When Paisiello originally performed his work, it was enjoyed, and when Rossini debuted his version of The Barber of Seville, many people who are fans of Paisiello's version of the opera rejected it, and it was more than once booed off the stage. Re-debuted the opera under a new name, it was considered a masterpiece, and Paisiello's version of the work was soon forgotten. However, Rossini didn't make his version of Barber of Seville until 1815, about 40 years after Paisiello's opera debuted. After 8 years in Russia, Paisiello began secretly trying to gain back a job at his home in Naples. When he was informed that he had the position, he left Russia, with a year's worth of advance pay, for Italy, and after a rather short time in the court of Joseph II, he moved back to Naples under Ferdinand IV, and continued to write operas. In 1802, Ferdinand IV was overthrown by a rebellion, and the rebel government made Paisiello the national music master. During the rebellion, he heard that Napoleon greatly enjoyed his music. 5 months later, Ferdinand IV regained control of Naples and the throne, and Paisiello claimed he had not asked for or wanted the position in the new rebel government. And then somehow, Paisiello convinced Ferdinand to allow him to go and compose music for Napoleon in Paris, and while in Paris to continue paying him. So Paisiello moved to Paris, where Napoleon loved him. Unfortunately, the people of Paris did not. In 1803, he left Paris, France, to return to Naples again, due to the exceptionally bad reception of one of his operas. After more than a year of wrangling and persuading, he got another position under Ferdinand IV. But in a few years, Naples was conquered by Napoleon Bonaparte, and he made his brother, Joseph Bonaparte, king of Naples. Joseph gave the majority of his musical contracts to Paisiello. Here Paisiello lived the last of his days. In 1815, 12 years after his rejection in Paris, his wife died. The Bonaparte family was losing power, and that resulted in less and less money for Paisiello. When Ferdinand again regained control of Naples, he rejected Paisiello. Rossini's version of The Barber of Seville also debuted this year, and Paisiello's work was forgotten. Giovanni Paisiello died on June 5, 1816 in Naples. Now, you may be wondering what this has to do with orchestra class, because we are not playing any of Paisiello's work in class. Well, Giovanni Paisiello taught a musician by the name of Nicola Vacchi, who taught a man named Emilio Arietta, who taught a man named Thomas Breton, who taught someone else named Pablo Casals, who played the cello. Casals helped to teach Leslie Parnas, who still teaches at BU. Leslie Parnas taught another cellist named Arnold Friedman, who currently teaches me. So through this long line of teachers and students, I am related to Giovanni Paisiello, which makes the whole project more interesting and easier to relate to. Influenced those people who came to his operas, but future composers for generations to come.